Hello everyone. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below to let us know where you're watching from and what time you're watching this. That way, YouTube will keep showing you stories just like this one. Now let's begin. Working the night shift changes you. The world sleeps while you're awake. The shadows grow longer. The silence becomes deafening. And sometimes, you're not as alone as you think you are. Tonight, I'm sharing 3 true stories from people who worked a graveyard shift and discovered that some things are better left in the dark. These aren't just stories. These are warnings. Let's begin with the first one. I remember when I was 23, fresh out of nursing school, desperate for any job that would take me. St. Catherine's Hospital offered me a position, but there was a catch. Night shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And not just any floor. The basement level. Most people don't even know hospitals have basements. They do. That's where they keep the morgue, the old records, the storage, and in St. Catherine's case, a small urgent care unit that barely saw any patients. My supervisor, Linda, told me during my interview, "It's quiet down there. Perfect for a new nurse to learn the ropes without the chaos upstairs." Quiet. That's one word for it. My first week was uneventful. A few patients with minor injuries. Mostly homeless people seeking shelter from the cold. The fluorescent lights hummed constantly, flickering every few minutes. The walls were that sickly pale green that every old hospital seems to have. And the smell, antiseptic mixed with something older. Something that cleaning products couldn't quite mask. But it was the hallways that bothered me most. Our urgent care unit was at the end of a long corridor. To get there, I had to walk past the morgue, past the storage rooms filled with outdated equipment, past doors that had been locked for decades. And every night, around 2:30 a.m., I'd hear footsteps behind me. At first, I thought it was security making their rounds. But when I'd turn around, pause, the hallway was always empty. The footsteps would stop the moment I stopped. They'd start again when I started walking. I told myself it was just echoes, my own footsteps bouncing off the walls. I was wrong. It was my 3rd week when things got worse. I was working alone. My supervisor had called in sick. It was a Tuesday night, and we hadn't seen a single patient in 4 hours. I was at the nurse's station, filling out paperwork when I heard it, singing. A woman's voice, soft and distant, coming from somewhere down the hall. It was an old lullaby, one I recognized from my childhood. "Hush, little baby, don't say a word." I stood up, my heart already pounding. The hallway stretched out before me, empty and dim. Half the lights had burned out weeks ago, and maintenance still hadn't replaced them. "Hello," I called out. My voice sounded small, swallowed by the corridor. "Is someone there?" The singing stopped. I waited, listening. The hum of the lights, the distant sound of the boiler, nothing else. I was about to sit back down when I heard it again. Closer this time, much closer. "Hush, little baby." It was coming from the morgue. I know what you're thinking. Don't go toward the creepy singing in the morgue. But here's the thing about being a healthcare worker. You can't just ignore something like that. What if someone was hurt? What if a confused patient had wandered down there? I grabbed a flashlight from the station and walked toward the morgue. Every step felt heavier than the last. The singing had stopped again, but I could feel. Pause, something. A presence. Like the air itself was watching me. The morgue door was slightly ajar. I know for a fact it had been closed earlier. I checked it during my rounds. Those doors are heavy, fireproof, and they lock automatically. I pushed it open. The smell hit me first. Not the usual formaldehyde scent, but something rotten. Organic. Like meat left out in the summer sun. The morgue was dark except for my flashlight beam. The examination tables were empty. The drawer units along the wall were all closed. Everything looked normal, except for the footprints. Wet, bare footprints leading from one of the drawer units to the center of the room, and then stopping. Just stopping in the middle of the floor, as if whoever made them had simply vanished into the air. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped the flashlight. That's when I heard it. A whisper directly behind me, so close I could feel breath on my neck. Are you here to help me? I spun around so fast I slammed into the examination table. The flashlight flew from my hand, bouncing across the floor, the beam spinning wildly before landing pointed at the wall. Nothing. No one was there, but the drawer units. Pause. One of them was open now. Drawer number 7, pulled out about a foot, and sitting up in that drawer, illuminated by the indirect glow of my flashlight, a woman in a hospital gown. Pale, gray. Her eyes were open but clouded over like milk. Her mouth hung open in a silent scream. She wasn't moving. She wasn't breathing. She was dead, had been dead, according to the tag on her toe, for 3 days. But her head slowly began to turn toward me. I ran. God help me. I ran like I've never run in my life. I didn't grab the flashlight. I didn't close the door. I just ran down that hallway, the lights flickering above me, my footsteps echoing, along with another set of footsteps right behind me. I made it to the stairwell and didn't stop running until I reached the main floor. Security found me 20 minutes later, hyperventilating in the lobby. I told them everything. They went down to check. The morgue door was closed and locked, just as it should be. No wet footprints. No open drawers. My flashlight was sitting neatly on the nurse's station counter, even though I'd left it on the morgue floor. The woman in drawer 7, they checked the logs. No one by that description was in the morgue that night. In fact, drawer 7 had been empty for over a week. But here's the thing that still keeps me up at night. Pause, voice drops to whisper. When they reviewed the security footage from the basement corridor, they saw me running toward the stairs, terrified, and they saw someone running behind me. A woman in a hospital gown, gray and pale. She was reaching for me. The footage cuts out just as her hand was about to touch my shoulder. I quit the next day. I never went back. But sometimes, late at night, when I'm alone, I still hear that lullaby, and I still feel breath on the back of my neck. When I was 19, I worked the overnight shift at a 24-hour convenience store on the outskirts of a small town in Oklahoma. The kind of place that only exists because it's the last stop before 30 miles of nothing. Truckers would stop for coffee. Locals would grab beer and cigarettes. And me, I'd sit behind bulletproof glass for 8 hours, watching static on a small TV and trying not to fall asleep. The owner, Mr. Garrison, only had 2 rules. Keep the doors unlocked, and don't let anyone die in the store. He was serious about both. The store was called Last Stop Market. Looking back, that name feels like a warning. Most nights were boring, painfully boring, but there was one customer who made me uncomfortable from the very first time I saw him. He'd come in every night at exactly 2:47 a.m. I know because I started watching the clock, waiting for him. He never varied, not by a minute. He was tall, maybe 6'5", and thin, too thin. His clothes hung off him like they were draped over a skeleton. He wore the same outfit every time, a brown jacket, dark pants, and a baseball cap pulled low over his face. I never saw his eyes clearly, but I knew he was looking at me. I could feel it. His routine never changed. He'd walk to the back of the store. He'd spend exactly 3 minutes in the last aisle, the one with the chips and cookies. Then he'd come to my counter and buy a single pack of beef jerky. He'd pay with exact change. He never spoke, not one word, and then he'd leave, the door chime ringing as he disappeared into the night. This went on for 2 weeks. On the 15th night, something changed. He came in at 2:47, just like always, walked to the back aisle, but this time, he didn't come back after 3 minutes. For minutes passed, then 5, then 10. I watched the security monitor behind the counter. The camera showed the back aisle clearly. It was empty. No one was there, but I hadn't heard the door chime. He hadn't left. My mouth went dry. I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. "Store closes in 10 minutes. It didn't, but I wanted him gone. No response. I stood up, grabbed the baseball bat Mr. Garrison kept under the counter, and walked toward the back. My hands were sweating against the wooden handle. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, one of them flickering in a way that made shadows jump and dance. I turned down the last aisle. Empty. completely empty. But there, on the floor in the exact spot where he always stood, was a pack of beef jerky, opened, and next to it, a photo. I picked up the photo with shaking hands. It was old, the colors faded and the edges worn. It showed the store, Last Stop Market, but it looked different, older. The sign was the same, but the parking lot was emptier and there were no gas pumps. And standing in front of the store was him, the tall man. Same brown jacket, same baseball cap, but in this photo I could see his face. He was smiling, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was too wide, too many teeth. I flipped the photo over. On the back, written in shaky handwriting, November 3rd, 1987, last shift. Today was November 3rd, exactly 36 years later. The lights went out. Complete darkness. The backup generator should have kicked in immediately. It didn't. I stood frozen in that aisle, clutching the baseball bat and that photo, my eyes trying to adjust to the blackness. The only light came from outside, the distant glow of the highway, barely visible through the windows. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming from the front of the store. "We're closed," I called out, my voice cracking. "You need to leave." The footsteps stopped. Then a voice. His voice. The first time I'd ever heard him speak. "I can't leave. Pause, this is where I died." The lights flickered back on. He was standing at the end of the aisle, not 6 feet away from me. I could see his face now. Really see it. It was wrong. The skin was too gray, too waxy. The eyes were too dark, like holes punched into his skull. And that smile. "You're standing in my blood," he said, pointing down. I looked. There on the floor beneath my feet. I could see it. A faint stain in the tiles. Dark brown. Old. Impossible to clean completely. "Someone killed me here," he continued, taking a step closer. November 3rd, 1987, 2:47 a.m. Robbed the store. Shot me twice. I bled out right where you're standing. Another step. I come back every year. Same time. Looking for someone to help me. Another step. Close enough now that I could smell him. Rotten earth and something chemical. Will you help me? I swung the bat. I don't remember deciding to do it. Survival instinct, maybe. The bat passed right through him, through the space where his chest should have been, like he was made of smoke. He didn't react. Just stood there, smiling that horrible smile. "Wrong answer," he whispered. The lights went out again. In the darkness, I felt cold fingers wrap around my wrist. The grip was strong, impossibly strong. I screamed and yanked my arm away, running blindly toward the front of the store. I hit the door at full speed, the chime ringing frantically as I burst into the parking lot. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. I locked the doors and sat there, engine running, watching the store through the windshield. All the lights were on again. Through the windows, I could see him standing behind the counter where I had been. He raised one hand and waved at me. Slowly, deliberately. I drove straight to Mr. Garrison's house and quit on the spot. He didn't seem surprised. He told me I had lasted longer than most. I was the 4th employee he'd hired that year. He showed me something before I left. A news article from November 4th, 1987. The headline read, "Local store clerk murdered in armed robbery." There was a photo of the victim. It was him, the tall man. But here's what makes me sick to my stomach. Pause. Below the article was a list of dates. Every November 3rd since his death, someone working that night shift had died. Heart attacks, car accidents, suicides, all at 2:47 a.m. I moved to another state the next week. Changed my number. I've never worked a night shift since. But every November 3rd, no matter where I am, at 2:47 a.m., I wake up, and sometimes I swear I can hear a door chime ringing. I was 28 when I took the job as a night watchman at the old Riverside manufacturing plant. It was 2019, and the factory had been shut down for renovations, asbestos removal, structural updates, the works. My job was simple. Patrol the building every hour, make sure no one broke in, and call the police if anything seemed wrong. It paid well, double what I'd been making at my previous security job, and it was easy work, or so I thought. The building was massive, 3 floors, probably a quarter-mile long. It had been a textile factory in the 1950s before switching to automotive parts in the 80s. Now it was just a hollow shell filled with dust and memories. I was given a flashlight, a radio, and a set of keys. My supervisor, a tired-looking woman named Carol, gave me one warning during my orientation. Don't go into the sublevel. It's structurally unsound. Could collapse at any moment. I should have asked more questions. The first few nights were quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that makes you aware of every sound. The settling of old pipes. The wind whistling through broken windows. The hum of your own breathing. I'd make my rounds, checking doors and windows, shining my flashlight into dark corners. The factory was creepy, sure, but nothing unusual happened. Until the 6th night. I was on the 2nd floor, walking through what used to be the main production area. All the machinery had been removed, leaving behind just the skeletal framework, conveyor belt tracks, mounting bolts, oil stains on the concrete. My footsteps echoed in the emptiness. That's when I heard it. Another set of footsteps, matching my pace exactly. When I stopped, they stopped. When I walked, they walked. I spun around, flashlight sweeping across the space. Nothing. I was alone. Hello. My voice sounded small in that vast room. If someone's there, you need to leave. This is private property. The footsteps started again, but this time, they weren't matching my pace. They were getting closer. Faster. I ran. I made it to the stairwell and descended to the 1st floor, my heart hammering in my chest. I radioed Carol, told her I thought someone had broken in. She said she called the police and that I should wait in the security office by the main entrance. 20 minutes later, 2 cops showed up. We searched the entire building together. All the doors were still locked from the inside, all the windows intact. No signs of forced entry. No one was there. The officers left, telling me I probably just heard the building settling. Old factories make strange noises, but I knew what I'd heard. Those were footsteps. Human footsteps. I decided to do some research. The next day, I went to the local library and looked up the history of Riverside manufacturing. What I found made my blood run cold. In 1983, there had been an accident. A night shift worker named Michael Torres had fallen into one of the industrial presses. The machinery had been running. They'd had to shut down the entire factory for 3 days to pause, extract what was left of him. The accident was ruled as negligence. The company paid a settlement to his family. But here's the thing. Multiple workers reported seeing Michael after his death, walking the production floor, standing near the press that killed him, always on the night shift. The sightings got so bad that the company brought in a priest to perform a blessing. It didn't help. And there was one more detail that made my skin crawl. Before the accident, Michael had been working in the sublevel, the area I'd been told never to enter. I should have quit. I should have walked away. But something drew me back. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was something else. Something I don't fully understand even now. On my 10th night, I brought bolt cutters. The door to the sublevel was chained shut with multiple warning signs. Danger. Do not enter. Structural collapse risk. I cut the chain. The door opened with a rusty scream that echoed through the factory. A staircase descended into absolute darkness. My flashlight beam couldn't reach the bottom. The air that wafted up was cold and smelled of mold and rust. I started down. Each step felt like a betrayal of my own survival instinct. The stairs were metal, slick with condensation. The walls pressed in close on either side. And with each step, I felt more certain that I was making a terrible mistake. The sublevel was worse than I'd imagined. It was a maze of corridors and rooms, lit only by my flashlight. Water dripped from exposed pipes. The floor was uneven, buckled and cracked. And everywhere were the remnants of the old production line. Ancient machines, rusted and broken. Conveyor belts hanging like intestines. And tools. So many tools, scattered across the ground like someone had left in a hurry. And then I found it. The press. The one that had killed Michael Torres. It was huge, dominating an entire room. Even in the darkness, even covered in rust and neglect, it looked dangerous, powerful. The plates that would have pressed down were frozen in a halfway position, as if the machine had stopped mid-cycle. Between those plates, I saw something that made me drop my flashlight. There was a shadow, a human-shaped shadow, pressed flat between the plates, like someone had been caught mid-compression and had simply stained the machine. The shadow was darker than the surrounding metal, and it looked wet, even though everything else was dry and rusted. I picked up my flashlight with shaking hands. The beam had cracked, flickering now, casting unstable light across the room. The shadow moved. It peeled away from the press, still flat, two-dimensional, sliding down the face of the machine like oil. It pooled on the floor, then began to rise, to take shape. Arms, legs, a head, growing from flat to three-dimensional, becoming human. Michael Torres stood before me, or what was left of him. His body was wrong, compressed, flattened in places where bones should have given shape. His face was a crushed ruin, but his eyes were intact, and they were looking at me with an expression of pure suffering. "Help me," he whispered, his voice like grinding metal. "I'm still in the machine." The press behind him groaned, began to move. The plates separated, then pressed together. Separated, pressed together. A hydraulic heartbeat. "Every night," Michael continued, stumbling toward me. "Every night I feel it. The pressure, the pain. I can't leave. I died here. Part of me is still in there." The press was moving faster now. The sound was deafening in that enclosed space. Screaming metal and hissing hydraulics. "You have to help me," he said, reaching out with crushed, mangled hands. "You have to turn it off. End it. Please." I looked past him at the press. There on the wall, covered in decades of grime, a red emergency stop button. Michael's eyes followed my gaze. He smiled. It was a horrible expression on his ruined face. "Yes," he hissed. "Stop it. Set me free." I took a step toward the button, then stopped. Something was wrong. Michael wasn't moving anymore. He stood perfectly still between me and the press, watching me, waiting. And then I heard them. Other voices, whispering from the darkness around me, from the corners of the room, from the other machines. "Don't. It's a trap. He wants you in there." I spun around. My flickering flashlight revealed them, dozens of shadows, dozens of figures, transparent and faint, surrounding me. All of them wearing work clothes. All of them bearing the marks of industrial accidents. Crushed limbs, missing fingers, burns. "He's lying," one of them said, a woman with half her face scarred. "He didn't die in an accident. He killed himself, jumped into the press, and now he needs someone else to die here, to take his place, to free him." I looked back at Michael. His smile had grown wider. "Wrong. They're jealous," he said. "They didn't have the courage to escape like I did. But you can help me finish it. Just press the button, shut down the machine, and I'll be free." The press was moving violently now, shaking the entire room. Dust fell from the ceiling. The floor vibrated beneath my feet. "If you press that button," the woman's ghost said, "the machine will never stop. It will keep running forever, and you'll be trapped here, just like us, watching, unable to leave." Michael lunged at me. I ran, didn't think, just ran, back through the corridors, up the stairs, through the sub-level door. Behind me, I heard screaming, Michael's voice, howling with rage and desperation. I didn't stop until I was outside the factory, in my car, doors locked, engine running. Through the factory windows, I could see lights in the sub-level. Lights that shouldn't be there, and shadows moving against them. Dozens of shadows, all of them trapped. I called Carol and quit over the phone. Told her there was a gas leak or something, and that I couldn't go back. She didn't argue. The factory was demolished 6 months later. They said the sub-level had been too damaged to save. They filled it with concrete, buried it. But I still think about those ghosts, those workers trapped in that place. And I think about Michael, still down there in the darkness, still waiting for someone to press that button. Sometimes, late at night, I dream I'm back in that sublevel, standing in front of that press. And in the dream, I reach out. My hand moves toward the button, and I wake up screaming, because part of me, a part one don't like to acknowledge, wanted to press it, wanted to see what would happen. And I'm terrified that one night, I won't wake up in time. 3 stories, 3 night shifts, 3 brushes with something that shouldn't exist. The night shift changes you. It shows you things that the daylight hides. And once you've seen them, you can never really unsee them. If you work nights, stay alert. Pay attention to patterns, to repetitions, to things that don't quite make sense. Because sometimes, the night shift never really ends. If you enjoyed these stories, make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more terrifying content, and let me know in the comments. Have you ever experienced something unexplainable while working the night shift? I read every comment, and your story might be featured in a future video. Until next time, stay safe out there. And remember, the night is always watching.